Oh, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. Did you get the flu?
Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm back today with our resident engineer, Mike Herzog. How's it going today, Mike?
Doing pretty good, David. I always laugh because we never know when that's going to cut in, and
No.
we're starting to have a very typical January Midwest conversation of, boy, it's cold out there. Are
Oh,
you
yeah.
sick? Who do you know that had the flu?
Oh, right.
Has
Well,
sniffles and under the weather.
I got some random eye infection around Thursday last week, and I
Ooh,
went on antibiotics on Sunday for it. And yesterday it looked pretty bad. I actually considered canceling the show yesterday because
didn't want to do the eye patch.
I
Really
look a little Asian on the one side.
make
And
a little bit of a statement there. Just
yeah. And anyways, today it's doing a lot better, but I think the antibiotics are kicking my ass. So when I went to the gym this morning, I felt the weakest ever. Yesterday, I had to take a nap, and I was yawning during the show yesterday. And I felt really bad. It's like, oh my God, why am I so tired? And I did some research that said that the antibiotics and the infection sap mitochondrial energy, and that's really why I'm not really feeling.
powerhouse the cell, man.
Yeah.
That's not running at full speed. You're gonna feel it.
Yeah, I need a nuclear boost. All right. Let's see what we want to start out with today. I've got a lot of news from India today. So it's Energy Week in India. Prime Minister Modi has been speaking at Energy Week 2026. He stressed that India is moving from energy security to energy independence through building a strong domestic energy ecosystem capable of meeting local demand. I've had conversations with a lot of people in the legal space that represent some of the large Indian power generators, or at least their interests in the United States. And they've told me about, they're doing everything from waves on the water, like floats that bounce up and down to generate energy. They're trying everything. And we talked about this once, that India and China are both still increasing coal production, which in theory, we always call those two countries the great polluters. But once again, they don't have, my understanding is India, something like 98% of the population has access to some kind of electricity. Okay, so they're a fairly electrified country. It's just that most of them don't have power a few hours a day.
Yeah. It's the reliability and consistency of it. Yep.
Yeah, but they've got I think the largest solar farm. There's all kinds of other things they have going on there.
I mean, you can kind of follow that region and see how they've progressed, and China, especially, which is still a huge rural population, and electrification has reached that. India is starting to electrify rural areas, and now we're starting to see like true Southeast Asia. Your Indonesias, Vietnam's, Laos. Those type of places still are way behind in electrification. But as those pop up, especially Indonesia, because they have coal, that's where the huge coal increases are at right now. But no, like you said, I mean, they're still adding coal. It's just, if you want to get into like the math of it, like the rate of change has gone down. Like it's a negative slope on it, but it's still, coal is climbing up where those things are happening. China's done a pretty good job though. I mean, all things considered, compared to where they were 5-10 years ago, where it was like, we're putting up a coal plant a week. And it's really starting to turn around.
It's amazing what a country full of engineers can accomplish.
Yeah.
For all the times I criticized China on this show, man, the fact that what a bunch of engineers can do when they run a country, it's phenomenal, the progress they make.
Yeah,
and
we talk about it a lot. I mean, it's U.S. is run by lawyers, China's run by engineers. They're very different. Is one better than the other? Not necessarily. It'd be great in the U.S. if we could just get stuff done every once in a while. But
the United States is 5% of the world's population. But in terms of lawyers, we're more than 50% of the world's population of lawyers. We're the most litigious society on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, people will sue people for just looking at them funny in this country. I mean, it's really retarded how easy it is to sue somebody. And I mean, if there's a legit cause, I get it. It just seems like, so many bad things happen. I don't know. And a lot of that is part of the fact that we're mass consumers, right? If you don't have all these electric devices in your house, or you're not driving cars, you're walking around. If you're walking all the time, how likely are you to be in a car accident?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're the most motorized society on the planet, and especially with four-wheel vehicles, and lots of accidents happen. A huge chunk of those lawyers are just suing people over traffic accidents.
Well, and it feels not to get into it too much, but a lot of our legal, it feels like the rest of the world has a dumbass clause. All of their proceedings where it's they were an idiot, right? They shouldn't have stuck the fork in the outlet. Okay, we didn't explicitly need to put a note on that. Whereas, US, it's nope, spell it out.
Yeah, we always like to reference the person who didn't know the coffee was hot, and they acted like they were surprised when they scalded themselves with coffee. Anyways, but India's energy sector is offering $500 billion in investment opportunities.
Wow.
500 B. And energy independence is a big thing. I like to talk about this. If I'm a world leader, that's one of the things I'm going for. China is really on that path. They're massively reducing their dependence on oil, and they're electrifying the cars, trucks, everything they possibly can. Now, the one thing is that Three Gorges Dam, they took down a lot of that hydropower a couple of years ago.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they had to do some repairs or something. And that was one of the reasons why they outlawed Bitcoin mining.
Because they had to take down that source.
Yeah, they had to take down the power from the dams. I don't know exactly what all went down with it. I haven't gone doing any research on it. But once again, just like India, every single category of India, particularly nuclear, they are, they're the growth leader. They're not necessarily the leader. Well, solar, they're definitely the leader.
Solar, they're the leader. Yeah. But it's the growth. Yeah, we're there. That's the path they're on in all of those spaces.
So Modi says India is strengthening global partnerships across the energy value chain, inviting international companies to participate in the country's long-term energy growth story as it balances economic expansion with sustainability goals. Now, one thing, their retail price of energy, if you can get it there, is cheaper than Nebraska.
Really?
Yeah, but it's intermittent, right? So if you're trying to run a data center, that won't work, right? And it won't work for a lot of other things. But I've seen where they do retail energy in a lot of places for less than 8 cents a kilowatt hour.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how they provide that, to be honest. But or maybe that was just
low. I mean, it's low overheads, low labor rates, low cost of fuel. If they have to put that,
not have been the whole country. It may have just been Andhra Pradesh, because that's where my friend is at, and so I spend a lot of time since he's in the government there, looking at what's going on in that province. But anyways, it's just really cheap, but you still got a lot of places that are really underserved, and baseload power is so important. Love renewables. Renewables a lot of times are just kind of a band-aid. They're not free energy, but they sure are cheap energy.
It's cheap, and the conversation we're having now in that part, and especially Africa, where that's, my God, Nigeria, the boom they're seeing, they're going to see for the next 20 to 30 years. It's better than nothing. You know what I mean? It's better to have some power during the day, power router, provide food, cooking. I mean, that's one of the major things in so many of these communities that we don't even think, like, what do they want power for? They just want a light bulb at night. They don't want to burn oil inside their house for cooking, or burn wood inside their house for cooking. They just need some type of power source.
So I love the color blue. I could totally rock this outfit. Okay.
That sounds like a challenge, man.
My hair's not really long enough to be a Sikh, but man, that blue vest and that blue turban, they look awesome. But this is India's oil minister. And he's saying India to drive up 35% of global energy demand growth over the next 2 decades. I just thought, that's a pretty big number, 35% of the world, considering, they may be 1/5 of the population. Let's see. Most of the power providers are government companies. We get subsidies, so all the government power companies are in a huge loss. Yeah, and a couple things you also got there, Yogi, is a lot of your Indian power companies, while they are nationalized, they've gone public, so you can trade them on the Nifty. And so they did this to help the government raise money for a lot of these energy projects. It's not something we've really tried here in the U.S. This sounds very much like a few months ago, Trump was talking about an American sovereign wealth fund, and that would essentially be kind of the same thing, where you take like the oil and gas leases the United States has, and possibly you would then make that go public, and you bring in all this money that would come flood into the government. That he's saying, like, hey, we have all these trillions of debt. What is it, like almost 40 trillion in debt, the U.S. national debt, but we have 500 trillion in assets. So when you look at it on a balance sheet, our debt doesn't look so bad, right? But when you look at it just as what a part of the gross domestic product, it's horrifying, right? And how much of the budget of the U.S. budget goes to paying down the debt. But these solutions would then chip away at the national debt. I mean,
I think that's one of the few things that I'm on board with and agree with, and especially when you talk about the rationale behind some of those things of, like, I mean, the U.S. government subsidizes this. I mean, we've invested, we invested solely in the technology and different things that provided these. Like, we should be able to get some return on investment out of all the money they put into private industry, which is, I think makes a lot of sense.
Oh, so Energy Week is being hosted in Goa, GOA. Goa is kind of interesting because it used to be a Portuguese colony, so people there speak Portuguese.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's kind of random. I've got a friend from Goa, and he speaks Portuguese. It's just the most random thing.
One of these days, David, I'm going to sit down with a map with you and just start pointing to countries and ask, who do you know from here? Who do you know from here? Because I don't think there's going to be a lot of open spots on that map.
Yeah, let's go to like Africa, where I might know some presidents. It gets kind of humorous with some of that. It's not so much me. One of my friends can introduce me to pretty much any national leader in Africa, and it's like, well, I don't have a reason for that, but
so you guys got that going.
It's a good resource. Yeah.
Nice.
Anyways, 80% of incremental global energy demand now comes from emerging and developing economies, with close to 60% originating in developing Asia. At the same time, around 730 million people worldwide still lack access to electricity, while 2 billion continue to rely on harmful cooking methods, making universal access to affordable and clean energy a pressing global equity challenge. Well, as I always say, I'm on a quest to end energy poverty. And that's what they're talking about. 2 billion people don't really have adequate access to electricity.
Yeah, that's
730 million don't have access to it at all.
At all.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that crazy? What did you think? You were telling me about the 35% thing. You think that's
I think that sounds big. And it's for those reasons, what we were talking about. I mean, the rest of Southeast Asia is on the same tear. And they're not at the same population as India right now, but they're getting closer to 1 billion collectively when you start to look at all of them together. And similarly with Africa, where there is such a focus on development in that area and providing those. So unless India is really saying, like, we want to be the world leader, like, we are going to put ourselves at these numbers, I just think that's a big number. That's a big number. Comparatively, that India is in a relatively better position already than some of these places that when you talk about the 750 million people that don't have access to it today, I mean, that's where those people are at. I mean, they're in Saharan Africa, that part of the world. They're in random rural locations in Southeast Asia. I mean, those are those places where you're going to see huge jumps with just a little bit of investment. And so not to say that India is not going to go gangbusters on this, but hitting a third of the world's growth, I mean, that seems pretty ambitious.
It does. Well, we'll see where that kind of comes out. All right, my next topic: General Motors streamlines public charging with Electrify America. Electrify America network is now easily accessible for GM EV customers via the My Chevy, My GMC, and My Cadillac apps, further centralizing the charging experience. Drivers looking to charge at one of 5,000 plus DC fast chargers across the country can check charger availability, plan the routes, and pay for charging sessions utilizing their My Brand app. That's probably, I'm assuming that takes the whole credit card payment processing thing out of the system. I'd like to assume, like we said before, that's where like 90% of all failures occurs in the credit card processing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not really them not working. I thought that was kind of interesting to see, especially considering we had the other news about, GM cutting $7 billion in write down on EVs. I don't know. Oh, I was telling you there was 30 new EVs. Now they've changed the number to 32 new EVs for 26 in the US.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many new models hitting the market. Now, all of those, to a certain degree, there's going to be growth in the EV space, but a lot of that's got to be taken from Tesla. And Tesla's not really innovated any designs or anything. The only new release in the last few years has been the Cybertruck. When you look at the changes in the Model Y and the Model 3,
it's
they're
incremental.
not that. Yeah, it's really tiny changes.
Yep.
All right.
It's good, and I look at this as a major signpost that the EV industry is going to go forward with of consolidation in this space. And we're going to see it from manufacturers. We're going to see it from charge point operators. All of these. I think that's just natural evolution of the market, and creates consumer confidence. I don't have to worry about it. I mean, that is a legitimate. If you're going to buy an EV even today in 2026, I think having a handful of apps on your phone is not an inhibitor to your purchase. Nobody's going to go and like, oh God, I got to download 2 extra apps to charge. No, thank you. But as a convenience factor, and we get past that early adopter curve into more mainstream, just convenience is going to be a factor for increased growth and continued. So it's great. All that's to say, a long couple of sentences to say, great. I love seeing consolidation in that space.
So GM wrote down $7.6 billion on EVs, but the stock jumped up 9%.
So erase that whiteboard.
Yeah. Investors rewarded the company for pivoting away from aggressive EV targets, discontinuing the bright drop vans, and right-sizing capacity to match actual demand. Cash generation is king. GM produced $10.6 billion in free cash flow from automotive sales in 2025. They did a $6 billion stock buyback and raised its dividend by 20%, showing it can make money even while restructuring.
Dang.
That's impressive.
That's a lot of big numbers, GM.
Yeah, it sure is. Their slower but profitable EV strategy wins Wall Street approval. GM will focus on hybrids in key segments while continuing selective EV expansion, proving traditional automakers can transition on their own terms without forcing unprofitable volume. We were talking yesterday, in Europe, 44% of all car sales are hybrids, either plug-in or just basic hybrids. Yeah, their EV sales are slightly higher than ICE sales when you just talk pure ICE or pure EV. Yeah, so battery electric cars have passed up in Europe now.
Just pure ICE engine vehicles.
Yeah, and it's now 70%, less than 30%, it might be like 28%, something like that, of European car sales are just pure internal
Pure.
combustion engine
Wow,
cars.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's
And
across
I mean,
all of the EU.
that's the future. I mean, that's the future, and that's why I like plugging this show and talking about it. Where if you just looked at mainstream media and news and financial news and EVs and it's doom and gloom and Ford cut this and Ford restructured, GM is restructured, and it's like, oh God, like that. No, it's moving so fast everywhere else in the world.
And they have all of these EVs they don't sell in the United States.
Yeah, like
You know, it's,
on one hand, yeah, it's the other business unit is killing it in
yeah,
different markets with
yeah.
these.
Like we talk about, Ford has an electric Fiesta and an electric Explorer in Europe. We don't have it here. It's just so funny.
I
Um,
know that's good point on that. That is such a well, but yeah, the motors burn out and the batteries. Like you never have to replace the transmission again.
yeah,
I mean, that's yeah.
yeah, it should. And then at the same time, they have to deal with the fact there's lack of service work because the EVs don't have to be worked on as much, which is good for the owners of the cars. It's not good for the
Not
dealerships.
good. But I saw that. I saw Lucid driving down the road the other day. Just a beautiful vehicle. Just a beautiful vehicle, and it kicked my butt off the line and in my Audi e-tron because you had to when you were at a stoplight next to that. But I was thinking, God, where would you get that repaired? If you did have an issue or you do have, because I have to take mine in, just like you would anything. Like it's like a checkup once a year, bring it in. All right, we'll just make sure everything's working okay and all of that. But I don't even know where you go to Lucid to get something like that, one of these more exotic brands.
Yeah, I don't know either. I wondered about that when you see somebody, though, with an exotic sports car around here. You'll see
Those
people with a
those there's
Ferrari or
always
Lamborghini, and
a
I'm like,
guy in some
yeah,
strip mall or some random place, and he's got 7 certifications on his wall. I'm certified to work on this, and that. I only work on very, very high end vehicles.
yeah. I mean, I've seen stories where, like, even towing companies, if you're a high-end car, they won't tow your
They won't
car.
even know it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
a
our
real
insurance won't
challenge.
cover that.
Yeah. Um, let's see. BYD has been targeting. They expect in 26 to sell 1.3 million vehicles internationally, which would be 25% growth. They're expanding aggressively into India, Vietnam, Indonesia, and potentially Europe, Canada as Chinese
I was going to
domestic
say
market
with
slows.
Canadian news, like I would expect Canada to take some slice of that pie.
Yeah, but they're limiting the tariff, the low tariff, to
Mhm.
49,000 vehicles.
Okay, so
So
they're putting a cap
they're
on
putting a cap
vehicle.
on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that
Now,
makes sense. Yeah.
India sales for BYD went up 88% in 25, which was 5,500 orders, which when you think about the size of India, that doesn't really sound like a lot of cars. But hundreds of orders are backlogged due to import quotas. So there's some kind of quota on imports, pushing BYD to consider local assembly to meet explosive demand. We see stuff, people complaining about all the tariffs and stuff the U.S. is doing, but like if you live in India, you're not supposed to invest in stuff outside the country. You're supposed
Mhm.
to invest all your money in the
Internal.
Nifty, which is their stock exchange, or in local projects. And they have all these things. I know one of my aunts and uncles, which most people don't realize I have Indians in my family. What they were trying to bring money from India, and the only way they could do it was bring in jewelry. They couldn't like bring cash out of the country.
Really
And yeah, just weird
weird
rules. But
stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, my aunt has a lot of beautiful jewelry, though. I mean, a lot of really nice jewelry. Yeah, yeah. But BYD signed a cooperation deal with ExxonMobil for supply chain optimization and is launching battery plants with VinFast in Vietnam, showing vertical integration strategy. So didn't see that ExxonMobil thing coming, did you?
Boy, and if once again, if you're observing this industry and you look at who owns Lucid, you look at who's investing in, supply chain elements and operational
Mhm.
stuff with EVs, like those are people hedging their investments and hedging their businesses for future growth too.
There's a
Because yeah,
lot
you
of
got to
smart
imagine if you're
people
one
out
of those
there.
companies, like you have the vehicle supply chain figured out from a fuel standpoint. I mean, that's yeah, what a great move from their part.
There's a lot of things in this space, in the energy space, where people definitely have, well, you and I technically have like insider information because we know more about energy than 99% of people.
Mhm.
And it's, it's a matter of how useful that knowledge is, right?
How do you apply
And
it? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, how do you apply it? And, when I see people speculating about different things and they'll say something like, oh, well, New Scale didn't have as much revenue this quarter as they should have. And it's like, yeah, but their real revenue numbers aren't going to come till like 2031.
It's missing. They're not
And
putting
it's like
product out.
right now it's irrelevant. I
Yeah,
mean, they
it's a
might as well
bump.
just be selling
It's a
New
bump in the
Scale
road.
t-shirts, like it's the employee store, you know. To get your New Scale jacket if you work there, right? And yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, they do have some licensing deals. They're licensing some of their reactor tech, but I'm just saying it's like some of these people that be saying, oh, the New Scale stock should go down because their revenue was lower than projected. And it's like, well, if they had gotten another case of jackets in,
Yeah,
maybe
and
they would
that
have more
or
numbers.
yeah, and in 5 years, if yeah, their revenues wait great, I would be worried about it. But today, like as projects are just being developed and their actual revenue is not coming in yet,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
look at the horizon. Look at it's an interesting picture, and you can kind of see the writing on the wall, regardless of external factors and requirement. It's cost effective. Same with EVs. I mean, it makes sense once it becomes commercially viable. It makes so much sense.
Well, we were talking yesterday about Tesla's robotaxi is now doing driverless rides in Austin.
In Austin,
And yeah, and so no safety monitors, but the European full self-driving approval could come in February. So that's only a week from now, right? Via
geez, yeah, that's
Netherlands regulatory decision, which would fast track adoption across EU and dramatically expand Tesla's addressable market. So they'll probably be looking at trying to do robotaxi over there. Optimus humanoid robot targeting late 2027 public availability. Musk positioning robots and robotaxis as Tesla's future, with Morgan Stanley estimating, get this is a big number, so glad you're sitting, okay? Morgan Stanley is estimating humanoid robot market by 2040 could hit $1.2 trillion. That's a lot of robots.
it's a lot of robots. I take everything that comes out of especially
Musk.
dates with Musk,
Musk.
just grain of salt. But the rub is it gets there. It gets there
Eventually.
eventually, but it takes a lot more time, which is what you do. I mean, if you're a promoter, I mean, you create excitement, you build your brand, get more people on board. I mean, you say provocative things to keep in the news. I mean, it's all a show, and he's done a great job with EVs, but it just
I
takes.
think he's failed with not providing the Model 2. I really thought that was going to be something. And the robo-taxi is just like a little two-seater car. It would have made a lot of sense to at least release it with a steering wheel and, make it a, because they've designed the vehicle. How
Mhm.
hard would it have been to have added a drive-by wire steering wheel,
Yep.
steering wheel, and make that a
I
thing.
mean, honest to God, where the technology's at, and the sentiment that modern EVs, especially out of China, are a cell phone on wheels. I mean,
Yeah.
I can play video games with my cell phone and turn it. I mean, just hook your cell phone up, and that's your steering wheel. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that far away.
Yeah, but Morgan Stanley's estimate of 1.2 trillion 14 by 14 years from now. That's that's 100 billion a year basically. That's a lot of robots. All
I'd
right.
take one. I mean, I got a robot vacuum that vacuums and mops my floor. I mean, I'd take one if it could put the dishes away out of the dishwasher.
All right. Got good news for the NEVI deal. to the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program that was frozen by executive order, a federal judge has restored the $5 billion EV charging program. Now, this was heavily criticized in the news because it was a $5 billion program and only 8 chargers were ever installed before Trump got elected. Since he's been elected, didn't we say there's actually been like a few hundred? I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I see the RFPs keep coming out at the state
Yeah.
level. People wanting bids on putting that out there. So
Yeah. So the court rules the Trump administration unlawfully withheld $1 billion in EV charging funds, forcing restart of the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program that was frozen after executive order. $5 billion federal charging program is back on track for building nationwide fast charging infrastructure along highways and in underserved areas, critical for EV adoption. Now, one of the things that it was supposed to help with was also the chicken and egg syndrome in low-income neighborhoods. Like, it was supposed to put some chargers in low-income neighborhoods that might take longer for people to start driving EVs. Although, in all fairness, they'd be better off with the cheap EVs, right? The problem you get into is going to a DC charger shouldn't be your first choice.
That's not your normal charge. No, that is, I'm on a road trip and I want to keep moving.
Yeah. So I don't know how much I agree with having the DC chargers in the low income neighborhoods.
Part of it, it's not cheap. It's not, you don't get that same advantage of domestic charging for sure, where this is dirt cheap. There's a premium.
Yeah. I mean, the big benefit to EVs is being able to charge at your house where energy is cheap. And because when you go out to the fast chargers, it's generally quadruple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's far more expensive.
It's almost parity with gas when everything's said and done. I mean, especially with gas prices now where they're so low. I mean, it's not that far off.
No,
the beauty of it's convenience, and it's cheap, and I never think about it. I know, the last time I went to a gas station, it was to buy a candy bar and a big gulp kind of thing. Otherwise, I don't really have to go in there.
So the policy uncertainty remains, but court decisions show federal EV infrastructure commitments may be harder to roll back than expected, providing some stability for charging network build out. This is kind of like my thing. It's like with manufacturing. Don't screw with the people who are trying that have subsidized manufacturing, because these people have invested billions of dollars into manufacturing of EVs or battery technology or whatever. We know it's going to be needed, and they're trying to deny that it's ever going to be needed. And it's delaying the inevitable. But, when you want more manufacturing in the United States, don't go screwing over people who are trying to provide it.
Who are doing it, just not making the product you were expecting.
Yeah. And so I have a real issue with that. But here's something interesting. Tesla lands massive heavy-duty truck charging deal. Tesla is expanding the MegaCharger network for heavy-duty electric trucks. And I assume the MegaChargers are over a megawatt. Okay. Critically, it's not just for Tesla Semi, but will support other manufacturers' electric trucks. Commercial EV charging becoming a major business line as logistics companies electrify fleets, with Tesla leveraging its charging expertise into new market segment. Infrastructure diversification allows Tesla hedging beyond passenger vehicles into commercial fleet charging, where margins could be substantial. A year or so ago, we had somebody on who specializes in leasing out commercial trucks, vans, big trucks, and his catalog was like 20 pages of commercial EVs.
Yeah.
I mean, there was so many. It was way more than in the consumer space. There's way more options in the commercial space for electric vehicles than there are in the consumer space. And the thing is, when you're doing something commercially, it's because the math works, right? It's not about politics. It's about, does the math work? Does this save us money or not? And in the trucks, it makes a lot of sense. You look at Amazon. You really, I'm not saying that maybe Jeff Bezos wants to save the planet or whatever, but I think that economically they would do whatever made the most sense.
100%. It penciled
And
out.
Rivian wouldn't have,
Yeah.
been come to fruition if it weren't for Amazon.
And that I've said it about solar forever. If you start seeing solar on Walmarts, like the game's over. Like they're going to go everywhere because Walmart made a very good business decision. If they go that route, it's because it's a business decision. This saves us money over time.
It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So we were talking about billions of dollars in manufacturing, right? Well, Aptera Motors announces closing of a $9 million public offering. So they're now SEV on the NASDAQ. They had a public offering for purchase and sale of Class B common shares at $2 each, 4.5 million shares. So they've raised $9 million, which doesn't seem like a whole lot in the car manufacturing space. That just seems like a drop in the damn bucket.
Yeah.
That's really sad. I could have gotten them that on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And they wouldn't. They're going to spend $2 to $3 million a year on NASDAQ and various fees related to that. And they could have done this on the Toronto Stock Exchange in Canada, and they would have been spending a few $100,000. That would
gotten the same level of investment.
They would have gotten the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's really, everybody wants to be on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I get people all the time. I'll have meetings and they're like, we really, they'll be from other countries. And they want to be on the NASDAQ because that's
brand name,
name and all that. And I get it, but it's tough to make that work. I'm working for one of the family offices I deal with on taking over a NASDAQ company, and corporate governance for 2025 was damn near $3 million.
Dang.
And it's like, that's a lot of expense.
A lot of overhead.
Yeah. And they, it's just not working for them. And a lot of times it's a matter of they wanted to, this gets really funny. So their partner for the deal was Alliance Global Partners, acted as a sole placement agent for the offering. That's who I'm doing the other deal with.
Okay.
With the same investment banking firm. Yeah. I'm not criticizing them. I'm just saying they could have handled that differently. And I think it would have made a lot more sense. They intend to use the net proceeds from the offering to support general corporate purposes, ongoing product validation, and manufacturing readiness activities, including vehicle validation testing, advancement of design for manufacturability, and production planning efforts, initiation of production supplier engagements, and commencement of long lead tooling in support of planned start of production timing. They need a crap ton more money than that.
If they're going to, that was a laundry list of stuff.
It did not include manufacturing.
No.
Okay. Make some damn cars, Aptera. They've got tens of thousands of tiny deposits. Okay. Make some damn cars. I don't know. They're the one that Bill and I are always saying like Apple should come in because it looks like it would be an Apple product.
They have, I'm trying to think, it's
the 3-wheel vehicle.
It's the 3-wheel one, but I know it
looks
they
like
had
a
something
Cessna.
unique about their controls or something in their internal electronics that was really desirable.
Well, it's solar. It's got a solar skin. Yeah, and you can travel in the right environment. You can get almost 40 miles of range daily from the solar skin, and the battery will hold 400 miles of range. It's a 0 to 60 in 4-second vehicle. And the back of it is designed, you could kind of camp in it and sleep in it. It looks kind of like a Cessna without wings. It's just 2 seats up front.
Yeah.
And it looks like it has tricycle landing gear, like you'd have on a plane. And it's incredibly aerodynamic. And they have been trying to sell these, or tend to sell these for like $25,000 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice offering, and people can, if you lived in California, you could definitely, or Florida, you could use one of these. You'd never pay for gas. You'd probably never pay for electricity, with the vehicle. There's
That's
so
wild.
many things, because most people don't drive 40 miles a day.
Oh,
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of
I
fascinating.
think I was thinking of somebody else. I might be thinking, was it like Volkswagen licensed
Scout.
Rivian operating system or
Yeah.
something like
That
that?
was a $5 billion deal.
Okay,
Five
that was a
billion in the
little bit
software deal.
different, just
The
extra.
9 million. Yeah. I get people sometimes that say that I hate on Aptera. I don't. I love Aptera. I love their design. It's a cool vehicle. I'd love to have one. Bring the damn thing to market.
Make them, yeah.
Jigger, when he was on here, Jigger Shaw, he said they don't have a chance.
Really?
He said you can't make it in the automotive space unless you're making 400,000 vehicles a year. Now, I don't know where he bases his theory. I mean, maybe that's because Tesla makes more than that. Maybe Tesla only really became viable when they started making 400,000. Rivian's nowhere near that. Lucid's nowhere near that. So it kind of makes you wonder.
Well, and the Aptera model, I mean, if it's price focused and meant to be environmental, and this is a smaller one, like you don't probably have a high markup or margin on each sale, so you make up for that in bulk of sales. And yeah, for those, no, if you're making a Lucid Air, a very high end luxury, you might not need to hit that. But if you're making a 3-wheel vehicle, like you need sales bulk to boost that out.
Bill and I had the founders of Longbow Motors from the UK on at one point, and they're making 2 little roadsters. Okay, they're awesome looking. They're both under $100,000, and they're called featherweight electric vehicles. And one or both of them worked at Tesla. One of them was like employee number 40 something.
Way up.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, but they're making these lightweight vehicles that only have rear-wheel drive, but they're sports cars, and their horsepower isn't crazy because they're light. It's kind of like the Porsche thing, right? Porsche don't need a lot of horsepower because the cars are light. And anyways, it's along that same line. The batteries aren't enormous, so they're keeping weight down, but because they're aerodynamic and light, they still get good range.
Good range.
I think they were talking like, 6 miles per kilowatt, so it was very, very effective. You'd only need, a 50 kilowatt hour battery to get you 300 miles, right? So, I mean, very effective in that way. But their target was only to ever do 10,000 a year, but they wanted to keep it boutique.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and it's a marketing strategy. I mean, that's
right.
what value, you create demand, and it's there, and you can pay a premium because it's boutique. It's bespoke. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I felt that was kind of the opposite of what Jigger was talking about.
Yeah, that is the opposite of like if you want to become a big business. I mean, you can run a small nice restaurant, or you can open up a franchise. Like what's your business model?
All right. Ford has appointed a lady named Lisa Drake as the president of Ford Energy. Ford Energy is going to launch the company's battery energy storage system business, the formation of which was announced in December. She is responsible for the full scope of Ford Energy's end-to-end operations spanning battery cell manufacturing, system assembly, and sales. She'll be focused on building the future leadership team needed to capitalize on this high-growth market opportunity for Ford. So Ford has decided to slide into the battery.
Everybody, man, everybody's opening up an energy branch.
Well,
it's not bad if you're Ford. You have good name recognition, and there is such demand in the battery space right now for utility scale and commercial scale, let alone as well after this past week of all the issues with power outages and backup, and the grid was strained under these cold conditions. I mean, events like that just keep opening up the residential and consumer markets in those spaces too. So I don't mind that from Ford. I mean, that's not a bad space. Comes with your new hybrid that you're going to plug in and charge every night. But here's your battery station backup.
Yeah. In other news, We know that in Hawaii, the natives have said that geothermal has bad juju, and they've had problems with it. They've also decided that nuclear is still bad juju, and they've decided to put nuclear power back on the back burner.
In Hawaii?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
there's been our friend Professor Tratner was
He's
nominated.
based in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
he actually has been getting involved in this, but they've decided to push it back till something else happens. I mean, in reality, we've been talking, you and I have been talking about fourth generation nuclear. And we know that the only fourth generation nuclear in the world is in China that's actually functioning. It was all designed here in the United States and proven here in the US before they put it in China. And American scientists helped build that damn thing. I know one of them. It's frustrating to see that the US just has pushed back nuclear.
Just won't do it.
Yeah, we're just not going to allow it, whatever. And Hawaii is one of those places like Puerto Rico that doesn't allow nuclear, and they're going to keep it that way for a while. So I thought that was interesting news.
On that. I think you and I see it as one of those, like, I can't imagine a better application for small modular nuclear, but on the same hand, I don't know. It's just a different mindset, but for whatever reason, I can make that connection in my head of island, limited space. What happens if it goes wrong? How do you just whatever, still that connotation with nuclear in there. Like, let somebody else do it first, and then we'll pick it up.
Yeah. Well, they've certainly had their issues there with, the weird fire in Lahaina and those kind of things. But most of it's still just misinformation.
Yeah, and that's what it is, and that's where I can still see it in the back of my head, a connection of this is when I think nuclear, these are the issues, these are the problems, and it's like, hey, yes, 40 years ago, 100%.
Yes, these are your grandfather's nuclear energy problems.
Sure, it's not ironed out, but Gen 4 stuff, it's kind of, it's still got to be deployed in mass and see what it does and confirm. But boy, it looks awfully good on paper.
Yeah, but and then you look at who lives in Hawaii. It's grandparents and great grandparents.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that kind of community. Anyways, let's see here. We got next. Okay, so Lucid announces Investor Day amid EV challenges. They're scheduling a major Investor Day as company faces scrutiny over production scale. Even doubling 2025 output would yield under 40,000 vehicles versus Tesla's 400,000 plus in the United States.
Interesting number.
Yeah, an interesting number that my system came up with. Jim Cramer, who you shouldn't follow his investment advice, okay, but he's famous, urges investors to take the loss on Lucid, pointing to Rivian as a better alternative, highlighting continued skepticism around luxury EV startups' viability. My answer to that is, if Lucid goes south, the Saudis take it private, and then you still get your premium. That doesn't mean you necessarily recover all of your losses, but I think it's worth staying parked in it. But I don't know. This is educational purposes only, right? So, I can't legally give you investment advice. Where will Lucid be in 1 year? Analysts is divided on whether Saudi backing can sustain the company long enough to reach profitable scale with its acclaimed but expensive technology. All right. And we were talking about solar vehicles in Aptera. Nissan is coming out, their SUV, the Ariya, now releasing a solar Ariya prototype that generates 14.3 miles of range per day using 3.8 cubic meter or square meters of photovoltaic panels across the hood, roof, and tailgate. Okay. So a square meter is about 10 feet. So that's 38.
So basically the hood and top and tailgate are covered.
Yeah. It would reduce charging needs by 65% in ideal conditions, particularly valuable for cars that sit in sunny parking lots all day, effectively getting free commute range. In Texas, they have this solar like soapbox derby challenge, and they always, and it's just like jockeys. They try to find the smallest girl to drive the damn thing, that weighs like 85 pounds or something like that. And they load the thing up with solar panels, but they can, as long as the sun is shining, they can go like 60 miles per hour in these things just on solar power with nothing else.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's wild to see, but it's kind of like that. Oh, and the guys have actually asked about coming on again. We had the Elf guys on about a year ago.
I remember that.
Yeah. And their vehicle during daylight would go 10 miles per hour without pedaling, just from solar power. Yeah, as a bicycle, essentially.
That's cool. I like that idea in sunny spots. And I mean, the tangent to that is, God, places like Phoenix and Dallas, why wouldn't you have solar covered parking lots? I mean, it reduces the temperature of the car. It's captive space. I mean, it's doing nothing there. It's just one of those. But this extension of it, boy, if the car itself charged, park it out in the sun. God, that's no problem. Let it absorb that directly. Don't go through the additional transformation steps.
Let's see. Did we discuss financing deals last week? The 0% financing.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah. I had something pop up on that again today. Major 0% financing on the Equinox, the Silverado, Dodge Charger, Ford Mach-E, Kia EV6 and EV9, the Subaru Solterra, the Model Y Standard, and the VW ID4 through January and February. Those some pretty sharp deals that help make up for the loss of the $7,500 tax credit. That's for sure. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. And I'll be back on Friday. I have a special guest on Friday. We're going to talk about electric boats.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Don't mess with our boats, people. That's something to remember about the United States. Don't mess with our boats. All right. Anyways, otherwise, I will see people Friday. And Mike, I'll see you next week.